Now we finally know what the Miami Heat are trying to work on going into this offseason. So according to Brent Siegel NBA, these are the current plans for the Miami Heat this summer. The Miami Heat are expected to be buyers, find upgrades around Hero and Bam. They're interested in getting all-stars. DeMar DeRozan is viewed as a potential target for Miami. So let's all start with the Miami Heat are expected to be buyers. First of all, this Miami Heat team, we need scoring. We're going to need another big. Bam, Khalil Ware, and Kevin Love is not going to be enough. Khalil Ware, he's still going to be a sophomore. Okay, Bam Adebayo, we know he's going to do everything. Kevin Love, he's just there for the vibes. We're going to need an athletic big to really help Khalil Ware and Bam Adebayo, especially at that 4 position. Now, when it comes to building around Tyler and Bam, you have to get a defensive guy next to Tyler, whether that's Davion Mitchell, where you have to have that upgrade. Davion Mitchell's a dog. He has showed that he's fully invested in becoming a better basketball player with the Miami Heat. There's no excuse for the Miami Heat not to sign him. You need him. Those are the type of guys that you need to compete in the NBA night in and night out. Guys who are going to bring 110% every single night. And like I said before, Bam Adebayo, he's going to need help on the block. He's going to need help with rebounding, rim protection, everything. Now, they're interested in getting all-stars. I really don't see a path for them to get Giannis. Kevin Durant now has been linked to the Spurs and all these other teams. I really haven't heard anything about the Miami Heat. So these are all things that we have to kind of be realistic about. I don't see us getting Giannis by any means. When it comes to DeMar DeRozan, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Miami Heat fans have a lot of mixed feelings when it comes to DeMar DeRozan. My thing is he cannot be the best acquisition that we get for the summer. Is he a winning piece for the future? I don't know about that. Only because every single time you look at every team he's on, they're in the play-in tournament. And he always chokes. He never shows up. Yeah, he's a good regular season player, which I think is going to definitely help Tyler and Bam because he gets you buckets. He's going to be a guy that, no matter his age, he's going to hit the mid-range shots. He's going to catch fire. He's going to give you buckets, get to the free throw line. And those are the type of things that the Miami Heat need. But he cannot be the best acquisition that the Miami Heat make this summer. Now let's get into the Giannis trade rumors. The Milwaukee Bucks are reportedly hoping that the presence of Doc Rivers will make Giannis Antetokounmpo more likely to stay in Milwaukee. Why on earth would they ever think that's even a possibility? I don't know. Doc Rivers does not move me by any means. You have to look at the roster. You have to look at who's on the basketball court. You have $50 million of dead money in Damian Lillard, who he's going to miss the whole season. Okay, and like I said before, Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis, they're going to get snatched up by a bunch of contenders. There's no way, shape, or form do I see the Milwaukee Bucks being able to compete in this Eastern Conference. Even though the Eastern Conference is on the weaker side, Giannis is going to have to do everything. And he's going to run into the Pacers, the Orlando Magic, the Miami Heat, which they're going to have a little bit more, just enough to beat Giannis. And Giannis isn't going to be happy long term. And like I said before, guys, if Bam Adebayo is not in that conversation for Giannis, the Milwaukee Bucks are not picking up the phone. Chris Paul could be on the move again after spending 1 year in San Antonio. We don't really give him enough credit. Chris Paul, every single team that he goes to, he absolutely turns it around. Whether they're an 8 seed, he's been able to revive the OKC Thunder when there was nobody there. He did that with the Spurs. And I see why they're going to move on from Chris Paul. You know, they already have Castle. They have Fox. They have the number 2 overall pick. They're going to get Dylan Harper. They're going to have a room full of guards. It makes no sense to have 4 guards on your roster when you know that you have to develop 2 young guys and you have to make sure that De'Aaron Fox has the ball in his hands. Chris Paul should have been on this team years ago. And I know everyone's going to say, why do we always go after the old players? We always go after the stars when they're 35 and 40 years old. Guys like DeMar DeRozan, Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, they should have been on the Miami Heat. Can you imagine Chris Paul and Eric Spoelstra's system? That is what Kyle Lowry was supposed to give to us. Could you imagine what Chris Paul would have done with Bam Adebayo, developing his game with Jimmy Butler, with Tyler? Like, we would add a phenomenal roster, a phenomenal system. So, guys, we have to be realistic when it comes to this offseason. I still think there's a bunch of moves. I know that, especially with all these trade rumors coming up with Ja, with Zion, with Trae Young, I don't see the Hawks paying Trae Young $200 million. I don't see how the Memphis Grizzlies can pay all 3 of their max guys. There's just no way. Per Shams, the Spurs and Kevin Durant had mutual interests at the trade deadline. If the San Antonio Spurs pursue him again, and if Durant still wants to play there, the Heat would need to look elsewhere to upgrade. The Miami Heat are favorites to land DeMar DeRozan, per Bovado official. So whether or not we get DeMar DeRozan or not, that's not enough. We're going to need guys like a Colin Sexton, maybe a John Collins, maybe a Daniel Gafford, high-level role players that you're going to need to help this Miami Heat roster overall. Now let's get into what LeBron James had to say about the Miami Heat Big 3.
So if you don't make every play this quarter, we're going to lose. Offensively and defensively, we're going to lose. And
So not your normal self, you feel like you got to make a lot of plays. Now you're saying, I cannot make a mistake.
I cannot make a mistake. I have to be involved in every play, offensively, defensively, flying around, steals, blocks, making plays offensively, assists, putting the ball in the basket. That was just the mindset, like that momentum of myself. It wasn't even a team momentum. It was like, if you don't do it, this is the moment where you can't rely on anyone else. I had that mindset. In order for it to go to a game 7, all the way to the point where it was like, the only time I had doubt is when, I don't know exactly the score, but what pissed me off, and I had a little bit of self-doubt, and also it pissed me off at the same time, is when the NBA personnel brought the yellow rope out on the court.
Now, I know LeBron James is not coming back to the Miami Heat, but isn't it crazy? Every single podcast, he's always talking about the Miami Heat and how he had a great time and the battles and just the finals runs and beating all these different teams and the rivalries with the Celtics and the Pacers and the Spurs. Like, people don't understand. LeBron James should have never have left Miami. I understand Pat Riley was tripping with the entourage, taking the cookies off the plane and just being too much, and I understand that, and that weighs down on players, especially when, these players are making millions of dollars, they have egos and all these different things. I'm just saying is he should have never have left the Miami Heat. He would have won at least 3 championships, 3 more easily with the Miami Heat over the next few years. I would honestly say he would have more championships than he does now if he stayed with the Miami Heat. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Hit that subscribe button, and thank you for all the support.